Toy rights, shoe lines, mood rings, game rights. Game rights?
Is there a game you never get tired of? No matter how much you play it, you just love every moment, faults and all? Maybe it's an RPG with so many dialogue and playstyle options you just have to go back and try every one of them. Or something really challenging where you burn enemy movesets and levels into your brain so you can eventually master those no-hit runs. Me? I'm a simple guy with a very simple mind, and I always find myself replaying the Jak and Daxter games. Precursor Legacy, 2, 3, X, Daxter. I don't care if they're baby games, I love them. I love every moment that I'm playing them, and no matter how many times I see those credits roll, I'm always left wanting more. It seems everybody has their favorite of those PS2 era mascots. Ratchet and Clank, Jak and Daxter, Sly Cooper. Each franchise has so much to offer, but one of those three is certainly your favorite, and there's no wrong answer. But the correct answer is Jak and Daxter.
Orange is the new black this season.
I'm not a speedrunner. I'm a filthy casual, and these are just the general thoughts of somebody who loves this game series. Am I blinded by nostalgia? Absolutely. Will Naughty Dog ever make another Jak and Daxter game?
No.
So this all seems pretty pointless and irrelevant. Let's get started.
Haven't you ever seen him used before?
Jak and Daxter, the Precursor Legacy, is the most consistent of the Jak games. Simple, direct, and pretty short, about 1/18 the size of Donkey Kong 64. Very few flaws, and the biggest critique I can give is there's just not enough. Not enough zoomer bike, not enough flut, only one level where you slide on your feet.
It's not enough.
Only one dash to the top, only one level where you're platforming between these jump pads exclusively. Only 3 boss fights the entire game.
But it's not enough.
It just needs a little bit more of everything. For instance, the Forbidden Jungle is littered with these spiky plant tentacles, and once you defeat the big plant boss in the Precursor structure, the tentacles all go limp. I wish there were more interconnected causal details like this throughout the game. Despite its short length, in its attempt to make a collectathon platformer, it's up there with the greats like Mario or Banjo. Precursor Legacy is basically Crash Bandicoot meets Mario 64. What makes it so replayable is Jak's fluid movement. It's so perfect and the controls feel so tight. Like, you have a double jump, but you also have this spin kick that you can use at the end of your double jump or high jump, giving you just a little bit more height, and that can really matter in clutch moments. You can even use the spin kick mid-air to save you from fall damage. If you jump right after a rolling long jump, you get extra height too. And if you hit the jump button as soon as you hit the ground in a ground pound, you also get extra height. You can even chain them together. This feeling of fluidity and control is unmatched, even in a world where 3D Mario games exist. And that's just the developer-intended gameplay. Movement tech for the speedrunning is insane. It's way beyond my skill level. Precursor Legacy was also a pioneer for gaming at the time. You don't have a hub world to jump into different areas, you just walk into them with 0 loading screens. Except maybe this one. The real Precursor Legacy was the hidden loading screen the whole time. The entire game is platforming and some mini-games, but it's varied enough to never be boring or tedious. What I truly love is if you know which areas to tackle first, you can collect everything you need on your first go, and there's hardly any need to backtrack. If you start with the Forbidden Jungle, you can unlock the blue eco vents at Sentinel Beach and Misty Island through the Fisherman's minigame. If you start the third area in the Snowy Mountain, you can unlock the yellow eco vents and acquire everything you need in the Spider Cave. There we go. There's only one time the game requires you to backtrack, and that's only if you're going for 100%. I'm not a completionist, but I will say this is a game you absolutely should complete. Not for the secret ending. That's bupkis. This is purely for the journey, not the destination. It's not difficult to do, and it's just fun getting every power cell and precursor orb in the game. Well, maybe these two aren't really worth it. I hate shooting yellow eco in first-person mode so much. And sometimes I don't like using yellow eco even when the game really wants me to. Like this ambush in the swamp, I just use the wombo combo of uppercut into dive into spin kick, and it works just fine. In fact, that combo works great in all 3 games.
Got 'em all.
The story is forgettable, but the characters and locations are not. The voice acting in all of the Jak games is incredible.
Think you can do better? Try scooping up river fish with a tiny net.
Little furry dude!
Judging by the smell, I'd wager your bathtub sank in the mud long ago.
What's a bathtub?
Look, old man, are you gonna keep yapping, or are you gonna help me out of this mess?
I'm gonna keep yapping.
Make sure you change the language to Japanese when you talk to the warrior in Rock Village. This guy's rent was due. Your main motivation for half the game is to find Gaul so you can turn Daxter back, and then you find out Gaul is the bad guy from the intro, and he's voiced by Dee Snider, which is random and awesome.
Yes, the silos.
They even have this little Easter egg in here. The story is collect the stuff, beat the bad guys. You don't need some complex story or characters. They're fun and inviting, and that's all they need to be. The soundtrack perfectly captures the vibe of each area, and I never tire of it. The game is just comfy vibes all around, which is another reason why I find myself constantly replaying it. Precursor Legacy is the most consistent Jak game because it's purely a collectathon platformer of its era, and it doesn't stray too far from that tried and true formula. The next game, however,
Now he's got super moves or something.
Jak II needs to be in the Library of Congress to show how gaming culture was shifting in the early aughts. The first thing people cite when discussing Jak II is the tone shift. This alone turned a lot of people off. Before, your tutorial was bright and colorful geyser rock. Now your tutorial is literally a prison break. Your quest givers go from, "Hey Sonny, can you herd my yak cows? I'm sleepy," to,
Get to the pumping station. I hate you.
it's a bit of a whiplash. Jak II is typically shrugged off as a cartoony GTA clone, and while it's clear to see the influence, Jak II is so much more than just baby's first GTA. This is my absolute favorite PS2 game. I find myself replaying Jak II more than anyone probably should. Setting and tone shift aside, I really feel like this was the evolution of Precursor Legacy's gameplay. The first game had you channeling different eco colors for power-ups, and in 2, that's replaced with the morph gun. But I would argue this was just the evolution of those eco color power-ups. Red eco would increase the strength of your hits, now it's used for the shotgun. Yellow eco gave Jak projectile fireballs, and now it's used for your long-range weapon. Blue eco doubled your speed, and now it's the weapon with the highest fire rate. Each weapon mod serves a unique function. The scattergun is best for metalheads that run up on you like the Scorpions or the Beyblades, and it has a knockback so you can insta-kill enemies by pushing them off the map. The Vulcan Fury stuns enemies, which is perfect for these grenade-throwing metalheads that otherwise recover from shots pretty quickly. The Peacemaker comes late in the game, but useful when the enemies get clustered together, like Crew's little green ghouls.
Little green ghouls, buddy.
And the Blaster is the all-around most useful mod since it can fire the most accurately. The game also wants you to intersperse your shots with melee hits as it auto-targets right away and increases your fire rate temporarily. And you could of course spin shoot your way through the game, but it's not as accurate, rewarding, or fun to do. I strongly advise against it. Ooh. This video does a great job illustrating the depth behind Jak II's combat. Scattergun's so slept on once you get the increased rate of fire, I'll tell you what! The occasional zoomer bike section now have different variations, and it's how you get around in the game. In fact, traveling by hover vehicles takes up the majority of the gameplay in Jak II. Another reason I find myself replaying this one the most. There's literally no other game with this type of gameplay. Every area feels so distinct, and each vehicle controls differently. Like the bike is the easiest to dodge traffic with, but it's also the flimsiest and it's the easiest to crash. Ayayito. The 3-seater is bulky and doesn't turn so easily, but it can withstand the most damage, which makes it ideal for certain missions, like taking out the Hellcat cruisers or rescuing the lurkers. If you damage your car, fluidly hopping into another one is just such a rewarding feeling. It's so fun cutting up through the hover zones to get from point A to point B, and each hover zone has their own advantage. The low hover zone is an easy way to avoid traffic, but you run the risk of alerting the Crimson Guard easier. The high hover zone is easier in avoiding the guards, but easier to crash into things. Actually, it's easy to crash into things no matter what.
Get the what?
What? I ran into a parked zoomer? When you're being shot at, your best option to avoid gunfire is to quickly switch between high and low hover zones. I've heard a lot of criticism about how much driving you have to do between missions in Jak 2, but it's probably one of my favorite parts of the game. If you don't like the Grand Theft Auto star system and you don't like driving around in these hover vehicles, you're not going to like Jak 2, and I get that. And then there's the jet board, perhaps the coolest new addition to the franchise. Not only is it shocking that we haven't seen a hoverboard function like this in any other game since, but it's integrated into the gameplay so effortlessly. Seamlessly hopping on and off the jetboard is another feature that makes Jak's gameplay stand alone. Plus, the missions centered around the jetboard are some of the best of the whole game. When it's injected into the middle of a platforming or combat mission, the game feels fully realized, and I just want 100 more missions just like it.
It's not enough.
My least favorite new addition of Jak's gameplay was Dark Jak. It fits into the story they're telling and it's emblematic of the tone shift, plus it's a fun idea. Jak finally channeling dark eco, amplified melee, room clearing powers, but I find myself rarely using it. I just personally don't find it that fun. It can be useful, but farming metalheads to unlock new Dark Jak power-ups doesn't feel worth the effort. Dark Jak powers were utilized much better in 3. Aside from the gameplay changes, Jak 2 also placed a heavier focus on the story and the world building. This marked a turning point not just for Naughty Dog, but games in general edging closer to cinematic storytelling. All of my favorite characters in this franchise are introduced in Jak 2. Sig, Crew, Ashlyn, Pecker, and Baron Praxis, the greatest villain in all of Jak. Gol and Maya were well designed and had a lot of potential, but Baron Praxis gives the best motivation for Jak. The first time you're introduced to this guy, he's torturing Jak and treating him like livestock.
You should at least be dead with all the dark eco I've pumped into you.
Then you learn he's the reason that Haven City is suffering. Do yourself a favor and listen to these propaganda speakers littered throughout Haven City.
You must work harder, not smarter. Free the mind, and the body will do as it's told. Nothing to report. Forced labor will set you free.
It's details like this that make Jak 2 a more living, breathing world than most modern games. Whenever Baron Praxis shows up, he's there to just piss you off. But like all great villains, he's not acting this way just because evil. He legitimately believes this is the best way to save the city. And by the end, he even partially redeems himself. Jak's entire motivation at the start of the game is simply to get revenge on Praxis. Everything he does is at the service of that. It even winds up being his own undoing. Jak takes jobs from Crew to get information on the Baron, and along the way he ends up helping Crew unleash more carnage and atrocities on Haven City than Baron Praxis ever did. Every mission in the sewers helps the metalheads take over the city. It's not like out of this world storytelling, but there's certainly more depth than what Precursor Legacy had going on. This game comes from the golden era of innovation and experimentation. Not all of it works, but the stuff that does outshines the negatives by a lot.
We're in the future, Dax. This horrible place is our world.
Now, let's address the difficulty. Jak 2's difficulty can best be described as arbitrary and frustrating. It's not necessarily the hardest gameplay, but what makes it difficult is the lack of checkpoints. So many missions just kick you all the way back to the very beginning if you fail, and that can be frustrating to say the least. This is a game that requires patience and perseverance. So much of the difficulty is solved through trial and error, which I think is Naughty Dog's bread and butter in all of their games, but Jak 2 is the most egregious perpetrator. I think the most annoying missions are the ones where you have to protect somebody's health bar, anything to do with the mech, and the turret sections. Turret sections in most games of this era age like milk, and this is no exception. Jak's arbitrary difficulty is another reason many were turned off, but again, that's why I find myself replaying 2 the most. It always feels good completing these missions, no matter how many times I've done them. Yes, even the drill platform. Longer missions that are spaced out into sections like the first Haven Forest mission or Mars Tomb are my absolute favorite. I love the button pressing minigames, and the only mech mission I somewhat enjoy is when you blow up the drill platform. The platforming here is fun, and halfway through you have to escape on foot under a timer. Very Metroid. I want to like the mech so much, but I just don't. It's mainly because the melee is so imprecise and you have no defensive options.
What the I got caught behind a wall or some
Remember how I said you need 100% Precursor Legacy? I don't think you need 100% Jak 2. Most of the side missions are fun, but some of them, like getting gold in the class 1, 2, and 3 races, are just not worth the headache. I completed Jak II once, and it was f***ing daunting.
Congratulations, you achieved the bronze record.
Shut the f up, you.
The detail I think I love the most about this game is the dynamic soundtrack. Every song has a slight change in remix depending on what you're doing. Like there's a little techno remix when you pull out the morph gun, and there's a little Crash Bandicoot percussion added when you hop on the jetboard. I love it so much. Although my love for this game is largely fueled by the nostalgia, there's a lot I can appreciate now that I didn't as a kid. Like I used to find Daxter annoying, but as I aged, I appreciated how out of pocket he is. I think Daxter is the funniest in Jak II, especially with all of his interactions with crew.
Look, Donut Hole, why don't we float around here looking hot and heavy, and you go roto-root the pipes? Hey there, Five Gins. How's crime? Lucky for you, there's plenty to go around. Hey there, stuffed crust! How's it feel floating on top of the food chain? Have you been exercising? Those legs, they're so, chiseled.
Getting actual voice work from Jak was also jarring, but I think he did a great job of giving Jak that edgy boy gravel.
Who or what do we have to shake down, knock out, or blow up?
I would say Jak has the most personality in this game. He kinda loses it in 3, which we should talk about now.
you boys are real wastelanders.
Jak 3 is a great game, but I do think it's the weakest of the trilogy.
Move this man!
It's interesting because back when it came out, this was my favorite one, and it was for a long time after. But after 20 years and many subsequent playthroughs, it's my least favorite to revisit. Considering it had a rushed development cycle, it's actually incredible Naughty Dog churned out what they did. And I don't want to diminish all the good in Jak 3, there's a lot of good here, mainly all the improvements to the gameplay. The jetboard controls are better, you have a button dedicated to a 180 turn, and you even have an offensive repulsor now. They even brought back the Flut gameplay with the leaping lizards. Daxter's death screens also make a return.
This is what happens when they drop my name from the title.
And I actually like using Dark Jak in 3. You can toggle it off and on, the new powers like the Hadouken aren't just one and done moves, and collecting enough Dark Eco to use it makes it a much more viable option throughout the game. The side quests are actually worth doing this time, and much less daunting to complete. There's now more incentive to collect the orbs from the side quests because that's how you upgrade your weapons and abilities. The weapons are the biggest improvement. Each mod color has 2 additional mods that all have unique functions and they're all fun to use. The mech is finally given a defensive move with this bubble shield. You occasionally control Daxter on foot for more than just one mission, and these are just the improvements. Jak 3 introduces a lot of fun stuff too. The Dune Bugs, Light Jak, Spargus. Haven City is now one big skate park for side quests. Damus, Cleaver, Seam, I guess. And I think Jak looks the coolest in 3. He's beefed up on a lean protein diet, sporting this new Precursor armor, and he has this cute little wasteland skirt. This was the closest thing we had to a Mad Max game at the time. Light Jak was a cool new addition. The abilities are much more defensive to contrast Dark Jak's more offensive capabilities. The heal is pretty OP. The slowdown time clap is really fun, I just wish there were more missions centered around its use. The shield finally gave Jak a block, but mostly it's used to infinite hover glitch with the wings. And the wings are probably my favorite Light Jak ability, but you don't get them until the end of the game. Unfortunately, every time I replay Jak 3, the corner cutting becomes more apparent to me. The main story is actually shorter than Jak II. Characters like Samos, Kiera, and Onin are completely sidelined. I don't even want to know what happened to Brooder and the Crocodog. It feels wrong having Torn praise Jak finally and so much.
Care to make some noise, Jak?
I liked him so much more when he hated us.
Hey, Tattooed Wonder, how come we get all the crappy missions?
Because I don't like you.
Fair enough.
And once you return to Haven City, it feels like a mad dash to finish the story. The boss fights are fun, my favorite being the Precursor statue. Feels like a bit of a throwback to Precursor Legacy. I get a bit annoyed chasing down the Darkmaker's spider camel at the end. It would add a bit of tension if Errol actually could make it to Haven City and we see a fail screen, but he just walks around in a circle until you shoot the nodes on his feet or die trying. And Errol is the weakest boss yet. And not just when you fight him. Like, what's his motivation? Just because he's a big meanie and he hates Jak? Bro, Kiera's single again. Go shoot your shot.
Someday she'll be my mechanic.
You see the big Damus reveal coming from a mile away.
Didn't your father ever tell you to pick your battles wisely?
I didn't know my father.
You did very well, Jak. You make me proud that our training program is so good.
You make me proud of our arena.
On some level, I completely respect the Precursor reveal being played for laughs, but it definitely diminishes everything that led up to their mystery in 1 and 2. Like, they built vast monoliths so Jak could shoot at a giant spider camel from space. Sig could have done that, and he's a real wastelander. I don't even know why I'm bugged. It's not like Jak had some crazy deep world to begin with. But I think all the mystery boxes introduced in 2 let my imagination think it would be cooler than all of this. Jak 3 follows that same Sly 3, Spyro 3, Crash 3 third entry formula of just putting too much in it. I love missions like the lizard racing, the hang glider, Daxter riding on the missile, Black Ops Arcade, but you only do these things once. Then again, you only play the Daxter Pac-Man mission once, but once is too many.
I gotta avoid the nasties!
I like seeing the changes to Haven City after the Metalhead 9/11 attack, but the hover vehicles have completely lost their appeal to me. There's no GTA star system, and there's little to no traffic everywhere you go. Not much to dodge when traveling from mission to mission. It makes sense narratively, but doing away with it entirely just makes Jak 2 even more unique and replayable to me. 3 could have made up for this with more wasteland exploration, but again, since the game was rushed, there's not much to do here. The checkpoints are now much more forgiving, making many missions much less frustrating to trial and error through. There are some Jak 2 difficult missions in this, but overall it's a much more forgiving game. Jak 1 may have been too easy, Jak 2 too hard, but 3 sorta hits that just right sweet spot. 3 has a pretty solid soundtrack, but the dynamic remixes are no longer present, and certain songs just get replayed to death. Like, I initially liked this one, but getting it in consecutive missions makes me like it a lot less. Jak 3 is a game I'll always love. It's a worthy third entry to the trilogy, but it has too many blemishes I can't overlook. It really all comes down to preference. The things I love about 2 I'm sure a lot of people see as negatives, and vice versa. I criticize because I care. I love Jak 3, just favor 2. It's a bummer that this was the last true Jak and Daxter game we'd ever see. So many are still holding out hope for another, but I don't think a sequel or a remake would stand a chance if they changed the core gameplay too much, that being Jak's movement. It's the only component that has remained the most consistent in all 3 games. The rest of the games in the Jak universe would be spin-offs.
Step on it, Jak!
This is going to be better than I thought.
I remember being disappointed when I learned the next Jak was purely a racing game, but then I played it. Jak X is probably the most slept on Jak game, largely because it bricked a lot of memory cards on the PS2 Slims, but the game they put out is just awesome.
Dig, you were my best friend, why'd you do that?
It's Burnout meets Crash Team Racing. Coming off the heels of Jak 3, which had so many racing missions, it was clear Naughty Dog wanted to scratch an itch.
I can race with the best of them.
Race? He's a race! I hope I win.
The power-up economy with the eco colors matches the game's lore. Green heals, blue is turbo, yellow is offensive weapons, and red is defensive. You can accumulate dark eco by taking out vehicles to power up your weapons. I'm not even someone who particularly enjoys racing games that much, but Jak X is straight up addicting. You got that divorced dad soundtrack keeping you forever angsty. It's genuinely good music that complements the gameplay. This intro with Queens of the Stone Age was life-altering.
Totally and completely badass.
The story is pretty silly, and it's a slapdash excuse to have everyone racing each other, but it has those classic corny humor moments.
Now that I've finished working on this sweet ride, it'll really fly, thanks to my vehicular expertise.
Right. Did you put on 2 coats of wax or just 1?
1. But that'll make it go much faster.
Although the best parts of the game are the traditional races, you have lots of variations to keep things interesting. Deathmatch, freeze rallies, artifact runs, death race. Lots here to keep you playing and vying for the gold medals in different ways. Hey look, power cells are back. Some modes are just better than others. Circuit races and death matches are just better than freeze rallies and rush hour. While Rush Hour may not be my favorite, it does weirdly remind me of the Fisherman's minigame from Precursor Legacy. You have to hit green and blue cars to extend your combo, and red cars reset the combo and damages your vehicle. It's kinda like getting the 1 and 5 pound fishies while avoiding the poisonous eels.
Here comes a big one.
I do find it strange that you can actually over-level your vehicles in certain attributes, making them bad options, and there's no way to respec. That's a huge flaw in the game design. But Jak X is a simple, dumb, fun racing game that you should definitely try if you haven't. I honestly don't know how people could dislike this game.
Man, shooting race cars? The game is stupid.
Then there's the PSP Jak games.
That ain't no bug!
I actually never played Daxter until recently. I never had a PSP and could never convince my friends who did to get this just so I could try it. But Daxter is a game definitely worth playing. Taking place between the events of Jak 1 and 2, you finally see what Daxter was up to while Jak was in prison.
And there I was, toe-to-toe with 55 of the nastiest lurkers you ever saw.
I love that Daxter spent 2 years screwing off, almost forgetting about Jak.
Keep thinking I've forgotten to do something. You know, something important. I can't help but think... Jak! That's it! Hang on, buddy!
It just fits with his character. Daxter takes up a job with an extermination company as metalhead bugs are slowly infesting the various parts of Haven City. Daxter eventually uncovers one of the metalhead leader's lieutenants, and you take him down just before you rescue Jak to end the game. It's all a bit forced and silly, but Daxter's a game that knows this and doesn't care.
What? I haven't heard about any infestation. Who called you?
Your boy, you know, Captain Zyman, Rupert Tickjackmos.
Nice try. That call didn't happen. Captain Rupert Tickjackmos is on leave this month.
It delivers on making an extremely unique platformer that embodies so many things that made Jak fun. Daxter controls nothing like Jak other than having a double jump. He crawls up walls. He's got an electrified fly swatter that you can use for chaining last hits, and this bug spray that can be used as a flamethrower, a jetpack, all sorts of things. And it would not be a Jak game without some sort of vehicle missions. Nothing too crazy, but fun nonetheless. Perhaps my favorite parts of Daxter are his dream sequences. He dreams of different pop culture movies like The Matrix, Braveheart, Lord of the Rings for you to do these button-pressing minigames that are surprisingly challenging. I also love the detail that all the enemies are Gull, considering that's really the only villain he knows up to that point. The worst part about Daxter is similar to the worst part about Precursor Legacy. It's just too short. I want more.
Stop! He's already dead!
Lost Frontier is fine. If it was a platformer that didn't have Jak and Daxter's name attached to it, I'd probably like it more. But it does, so it disappoints. Thing I love most about Jak and Daxter is the movement, and this just feels stiff and odd.
What did they do to my boy?
Jak's also a pilot now, so you have Star Fox gameplay.
Do a barrel roll! Try a somersault!
And it's fine. It's pretty good. Hey look guys, Dark Daxter. Finally. It's what we've all wanted. Dark Daxter. Lost Frontier is a decent game. It's just not my Jak and Daxter.
I'm Kira, and this is Jak.
I'm sorry, I just don't want to talk about this one. I know a lot of people will find it foolish for a geriatric to talk about beloved games of their childhood that are irrelevant and came out over 20 years ago. But these games are special and hold up beyond the nostalgia that they bring. They're games that bridge the gap between kiddie platformers to more story-driven cinematic games. If you like Last of Us, it's worth it to see how far Naughty Dog has come, not just since Crash, but Jak and Daxter too. Naughty Dog is one of the greatest game companies there is. It's also just cool to see how they went from this
Hey, we're the ones on a big quest here. We ask you for help.
to this. I'm such a Naughty Dog simp, I cannot wait for this game. There are games I didn't expect to still be playing this long, but now, I don't foresee a time when I wouldn't want to pick up a Jak game and just enjoy myself all over again. Hey, thanks for watching me gush about this dead franchise. I've loved it for so long. If you want to check out some great Jak and Daxter content, streamers, speedrunners, video essays, just check out the links below in the description. If you know someone who also still loves these games, be sure to share this video with them. And let me know some of your favorite parts of the Jak games in the comments. I know there's a lot I didn't cover, these were just my broad stroke thoughts. I love discussing and learning new things about these games, so let me know.